problem I can't solve. There's no question I can't answer about this game. Tomorrow, I'm going to start filling your skull with everything about this game and street. I'm going to make a star out of you, Angel. Don't ask any outsider anything. Come to Chris or me. My little baby, I'll protect you with my last drop of blood. If any motherfucker in those streets out there, stud or bitch, hurts you or threatens you, come to me. He will have to cut my throat first, shoot me first. I take an oath to protect you for as long as you are my woman. Baby, I know that's for always. Now repeat after Daddy, baby. She squeezed tightly against me. She was in a trance looking up at me. She chanted along with me. From this moment, I belong to blood. I am his whore. I will do everything he tells me. I won't ever fuck with his scratch. I will hump my heart out every night. I've got to make a bill a night. She slept with Chris that night. After the first week, I knew she was the perfect partner for Chris. Sweet was right. Chris and Joanne ran Phyllis and Ophelia into a panting lather in the street. I started wanting that fifth whore. Leroy got a year for the beating he gave Papa Tony. About 6 months later, Top and I were at the Roost Bar. A loudmouth joker beside me was arguing with a stud on his other side. I had my back to him, facing Top. Top and I had been shooting stuff for several hours in his pad. I was so frosted with cocaine, I felt embalmed. It was maybe like I was at the Roost, and I really wasn't. I had raised my glass of coke to my jib. I was fascinated by the tiny bubbles popping inside the glass. I was trying to count them before they all popped away. I heard an explosion behind me. My skull was numb. It was maybe like the noise behind me happened a year ago on an ice floe in the Arctic somewhere. I saw a light gray lid that stirred a faint memory. It wobbled across the log and stopped in front of where Top had been. I thought, that's a Knox 40. I had one once that color. That crazy joker Top was on the floor between the log and his stool. His eyes were wide in fear. He was looking up at me like he thought I had gone bats and was going to croak him. I laughed at him. I heard running feet behind me. I looked over my shoulder. The joker who had been arguing with Loudmouth was running through the door with a rod in his hand. I looked behind me. Loudmouth was on his back, out cold. He had a long red gouge across his temple. Some of the frost melted away in my skull. The bullet that grazed Loudmouth had torn my lid off. The joint was still. Top was standing and dusting himself off. The joint had emptied. I reached over and picked my lid off the bar. I took a casual look at the entrance, exit holes in the top of the crown. I stuck it on my head. Top was staring at me. I tilted my glass and drained it. I turned to Top. Loudmouth was groaning and coming to on the floor. I said, Jack, let's get out of here before the rollers come. I ain't got time for a quiz. You know, Top, if my skull had been pointed, I'd have had a bad break. Top followed me out the door. We got into his hog in front of the Roost. Top was still staring at me. His jib was gaping. He said, Kid, I saw it, but I don't believe it. I've seen some cool studs in my time, but I ain't never seen nothing equal to that. Kid, you were cold in there. Icy. Icy like an iceberg. Kid, I got it. You're getting to be a good young pimp. All good pimps got monikers. I'm gonna hang one on you. Kid, you've outgrown Youngblood as a moniker. How about Iceberg Slim? Kid, it's a beautiful fit. Iceberg Slim. How about it? And I thought it up. Cocaine sure chills you. I guess you picked the right high for you. Chapter 14. The Mistake. By the end of the year, I had copped a new 39 hog. I had blown Joanne 90 days after I got her. She was too possessive, and she didn't really have the guts for a long stretch in the street. I didn't cry when she left. While I had her, Chris kept her humping. I was thousands ahead of her when she slipped away from Chris in the street. A week later, I copped a young whore that was a whiz in the street and was hip to boosting. She went ape over Chris. She'd go downtown and come home with shopping bags loaded with fine dresses and underclothes for herself and her sisters. Later, she hipped Chris to boosting. I let them go down together with a stud who drove for them. They filled my closet with beautiful vines. Top got 5 years on a narcotics rap. The federal heat tricked him into a 4-piece sale to an undercover agent. I sure missed him. I hung out at Sweets more than ever. My name was ringing. The moniker Top hung on me stuck. Everybody was calling me Iceberg, even Sweet. Only I and the several peddlers I copped from knew that my icy front was really backed by the freezing cocaine I snorted and banged every day. I pimped strictly by the book for the next 3 years. I traded in a hog each year. I never had less than 5 girls in the family. I moved out of Top's building and let the family stay there. I took a suite in a swank midtown hotel. I had the privacy, the jewelry, and all the flash and glamour of a successful pimp. I hadn't managed to solve the fast track. I was fast becoming one of its legends. Top had gotten out. He was in Seattle with relatives serving out his short parole paper. Only one of his women stuck with him. The rest got in the wind when he fell. The runt was still bottom woman. Ophelia was still hung up on her. Chris was proving every day she had the qualities for a bottom woman. I noticed the runt was acting like she might be wearing thin fast. The other 2 whores I had been stablemates. I copped them when their pimp shot an overdose of H. I was at Sweets when Pearl Harbor was bombed. I stayed all night. I was still in bed. The friendly brown snake had brought me my breakfast. I was just finishing when Sweet walked into the bedroom. He sat down on the side of the bed. He said, "Berg, Uncle Sam just got his throat cut. The slant eyes just put the torch to Pearl Harbor. Whore's gonna make more scratch now than ever before. Berg, I got a feeling this Second World War is gonna hurt the pimp game in the long run." I said, "Sweet, how do you figure that?" He said, "You know a whore ain't nothing but an X square. A good pimp wears out a lot of whores in his lifetime. If there ain't no big pool of squares for the pimps to turn out, then stables gotta get smaller. The defense plants are gonna claim thousands of young potential whores. Those square bitches are gonna get those paychecks. They'll get shitty independent. A pimp can't turn them out. The older square broads are going into the plants too. Thousands of them got teenage daughters. They'll have the scratch to fill the bellies of those young bitches. They'll put nice clothes on their backs. Why the hell should they whore for a pimp? They can pimp on mama. The worst thing is, those plants are inviting whores with strict pimps to split and square up. If the war lasts a long time, pimps will have to turn pussy to hold a whore. Berg, ain't but one real heaven for a pimp. He's in it when there's a big pool of raggedy, hungry young bitches. The war was raging. The defense plants were grinding out war goods around the clock. Thousands of young and old broads were slaving in them. As far as I was concerned, the pool was still full of fine fish. I had 3 original girls and 3 new cops. It was December 1944. Sweet was still pimping good for an old man. He was down to 7 women, but this was great pimping for a stud his age. Top had settled out west. I had held Chris, Ophelia, and the runt a long time. Since '38, I had copped and blown 60 to 70 whores in turnouts. The turnover in turnouts was big. Some of them would hump for a month and split, some a week, others a couple hours before they cut out. Sweet had been so right years ago. The pimp game was sure cop and blow. I spent Christmas Day with Mama. She was really happy to see me. She hadn't seen me since '38. She cried as always when I left her. The runt was getting tired and evil. Several of those turnouts she had run away from me. All new turnouts I was giving to Chris to polish in the street. I started sending the runt to small towns near army camps. Some of them were out of state. Sometimes Ophelia went with her. A week before